What's up, adventurers? My name is Platinum Phoenix, and welcome back to Kirby Mass Attack. Last time, we completed a bunch of mini-games in DD Resort. And this time, we are jumping right back into one. So let's go ahead and get this started. Stage 4. One of the first stages you can actually do in DD Resort for some reason. Hello, Tori. We do not need to deal with you, so we're not going to. Into King DDD. And right here, once again, like all of these minigame stages, is the warp gate in case you wanted to skip the minigame for some reason. I don't know why you would go into these stages and then immediately skip the entire stage, but whatever. And starting off, this is very similar to a stage back in the Green Grounds. The elevator stage in the tree where we had to throw at the sorors at the very end in order to get the door to appear. But this time, it's more of a mini game. And that is our first of 3 coins. This is actually a kind of decently hard one to get all 3 coins in, especially in one run, because you have to make sure to get at least the first, second, and fourth one of these, and then you have to kind of know where the coin's gonna be ahead of time in order to get it reliably, I guess I should say. But that's 2 of 4 down, and this third one, I believe, is going to come in from the left. And if we just stay in the middle here, we should be able to grab it. And this is the only one that doesn't actually have a coin, so you could just throw to your heart's content. This is actually a really good one if you're good at throwing Kirby's to get a lot of Kirby's very quickly. So if you only have 1 Kirby starting off the world, you can come here and get a decent number of Kirby's, actually. And I believe this is the hardest one to get, and I forget which side it even comes in on. Alright, where are you? Where's my coin? There's my coin. And of course they make the hardest coin to get, because the Maximado is the hardest one to get, the rainbow coin. So it's the one you actually have to get. So this stage is actually really easy. Well, not super easy, but is one of the easier ones to 100% with all the medals. Especially because the hardest medal is the one you need to get. But doing that, we are actually out of minigame territory and into actual stage territory. So, let's head into stage 5. And you may have noticed that in the first 4 stages, there was only 1 new enemy in this entire world. But they start amping that up very quickly. That is not one of the new enemies, but there are like 6 of them in this stage, including this one right here. This is a Stoniki, and they actually do a really good job teaching you how to defeat them. Basically, if you just follow where they make apples appear around it, and then do another loop, it shows you exactly how to defeat these guys, because you have to make them dizzy, and then they stick their tongue out, and you just grab their tongue and pull them out of the door. So if we can pull them out... Come on, Stoniki, out of here! And then we just get access to the door. I'm pretty sure almost every single time that a Stoniki is in the world, or in a level, they are blocking a door, so they are almost always have to be defeated, and I don't actually want to hit that one. I just want to avoid it and avoid this squid. You know what, that works. It didn't hit me. I'm fine with that. And we are just going to swim down here. Kirby's, can you come on? Game is lagging for some reason. And here we have our first of 5 medals in this stage. And we just need to grab it and go before the squids cause us any problems. And I very much like that this stage is farther in than, like, the second stage, because having 10 Kirbys to do this is a lot easier than having, like, 3. Because you can pretty much ignore a lot of the clams and a lot of the air bubbles in this stage because of the way that the air gauge works. Please hit the bomb. Now I'm just mashing to try to get the Kirbys to listen to me. And we have another giant squid that we need to take care of, and this one works kind of differently than the last one. This one will make 3 different tentacle figurations, and you have to grab the one that's a circle in order to pull it out of blocking the way we need to go. And by doing that, just like the last one, we make a current going upwards. And if I'm correct, this is just going to push us all the way down. And since we actually don't have any injured Kirbys, we just need to break that block and go through the door. If you have injured Kirbys, you can do a whole lap around there and go through the magic ring in order to get your Kirbys to be healthy again. But you can also just skip it because there are other magic rings in this level as well. And now we just need to avoid the Gordos here. And you can actually speed this up a little bit if you wanted to by just clicking forward and having the Kirbys swim with the current. But once we get here, I recommend actually swimming backwards to make this part slightly easier, because we need to hit all of these buttons in order to do what we need to. And here's another magic ring that I was just talking about. We don't entirely need to go through it, but once we hit all 3 buttons, it opens up these 2 like stone gates, and we need to open those up in order to actually get something very important. Which, if we just let the Kirby slide down here, we get a key. And that key, of course, can only be gotten if you hit those 3 buttons, because that's how you get into that current. And also, it drops us right on top of the warp gate. So there's your warp in case you need to skip, like, the rest of the stage. And we are just going to skip that platform entirely and just head into this door. And I believe in this room, we need to skip this door because that's an outdoor only. And we have another Stona key with a 10 on its head. So it means it needs exactly 10 Kirbys in order for it to do anything. Or I guess you can confuse it, but you can't actually pull it out of its hole without 10 Kirbys. So we just need to grab onto it and pull it out of the hole. Get out of the door, we need in here, Stona key. And that gives us access into this golden door. And just like every golden door in this game, you could probably guess what's in this clam. So I'm just going to do what I like to do with these giant clams and go to their left-hand corner because I like throwing right. Mostly because I am right-handed and it is easier for me to throw that way. And it gives you a bunch of fruit, a bunch of air, and most importantly, it gives you the treasure chest that we need. And this should be our second medal. And then we just need to break these blocks and head back out this door. Which, if not obvious enough, leads us right out to the outdoor that we just passed. And then I believe that's mostly all that's in this room, except for the fact that this path splits in 2. So yeah, you have to do this in 2 different runs, almost no matter what. So we are actually going to be going through the top route first, and just take out that jelly fuzz. And we'll go through this top path, which, if you saw the sign, you could see that it is holding a turtle tummy at the end of it. So we just need to very carefully make our way through here. And we don't actually need to fight like anything in here because it's not super important, but we need to get here as soon as possible to open or to push down that lever, because this is an auto scroller stage, and we need to push down that lever and collect all these green apples very quickly, because by collecting all of them, they come together and they give us a big Kirby candy, which just lets us steamroll the rest of the stage. And basically all you want to do is stay as close to the front of the screen as possible, because you need to break these blocks in order to get a medal before the big Kirby power runs out. And that is our 4th medal. And we actually are just going to go above. And this is actually another new enemy and one of my least favorite enemies. That is a Bi Ripper. I have no idea why it's called that. It's basically just a puffer fish, but instead of spikes, it uses electricity. So I guess Ripper is just what they call electricity. And we are just avoiding the Gordos, because nobody likes Gordos. And once we get through the end of this room, just like last time we had to fight this mini-boss, it's basically the exact same boss, except this one is purple. And this one's actually easier because we don't have to carry a key through this boss. So you can be slightly more risky fighting this boss. And we just need to swim around the electrified squid. And that is stage 1 of 3 done. And come on. I don't think no matter how fast you mash here that it even matters. Like, I'm getting a little bit closer, but like it wasn't really doing anything. And we are just, again, just avoiding the electric squid and hitting the turtle tummy. And actually, did that take it? No, we have one more cycle. And I didn't get the free hit on it, unfortunately. Come on, Kirby, swim with all the might you have as a star child. And dodge! Jeez, that was so close. I'm actually not super worried about the Kirby's being hit here, because this is basically the end of the stage, and the Kirbys have already been hurt this stage, so it's not like I'm getting a gold star anyway. And with that, that is the turtle tummy taken out, and our rainbow medal secured. And I guess if it's not obvious, the last medal is on the bottom route, so we do have to do this stage twice. And that fires us up here. I actually have no idea how you get through this, but we are just going to run past. And if we run over here, that is the end of the stage. And yeah, Silver Star is what I was expecting. And now I'm going to cut ahead to when we get to the split path again, so we can take the bottom route. So I will be right back. Alright, we are back, and we are just going to be taking this bottom route here. And it looks like it's like a giant fish or something on that sign, so there's actually quite a bit to this bottom level to get to the boss, the mini boss of this part. And we are just going to swim through most of this, because none of that actually super matters for what we're doing. So you can mostly just swim with the current here. Just try to break that before it gives us any trouble. And I actually, of course, the one I opened is the one that has a mimic, or shell mimic in it. Well, if that had a shell mimic in it, this should not. Thank you for the extra air. And get away from me, you Bi Ripper. break those, and we should be able to get right through here. And as you can see, there's a skeleton key right there, but there's a bunch of metal blocks around it. So we need a way to break all these metal blocks. So if we just swim over here, we see a bunch of small little fish, which are actually called a wasuki, and we see a giant eel, which has one of my favorite names in this entire game, just because of how funny it is. Those giant eels are called Eel-longo, because it's just a long eel, and I find it incredibly funny. It's just Eel-longo. But we have another Scully section where we do the signature move of Moon Knight and just random bullshit go! And we have taken all the Scullies except for the treasure chest, and I'm actually going to continue throwing Kirby's because they decided to come down here. And this is the final medal that we were looking for. And with that, we have all 5 medals of this stage. Something else you may have noticed is that on the main stage select screen, the next stage, stage 6, was actually a question mark stage, meaning it had no Kirby requirement, and we actually couldn't go into it yet. And we'll get into why after we do the boss fight. So we just need to continue our way this way. And great. I was so close to having gold. Come on, Kirby. But we just need to come up here, and we have another stone block to break, which this one's actually easier than the last couple we had in the Sandy Canyon, because this whirlpool is not nearly as difficult to maneuver around as the sandstorm was. So we just need to break that. And I actually want to break this because I know this is air. And we have another El-longo here, I believe. This one actually can hurt us if we're in front of it. Mostly El-longos are used to break certain obstacles, and they're always preceded by awasukis, as well as this thing is preceded by a bunch of awasukis as well. This is our mini-boss of the bottom level, and it is called the King El-longo. Basically just a giant wooden El-longo, and the way to fight it is it will always shoot air bubbles when it's about to appear. So you see air bubbles, which you can grab, but it will start swimming a couple of seconds after it shoots air bubbles, and it has wooden segments on its top and bottom halves. And what you need to do is you need to break the wooden segments, but as you break them, the King El-longo will get faster and faster if you continue to break them. So it becomes kind of a timing game, and it's actually kind of difficult if he gets too fast. And that is the entirety of the bottom section completed, so all we need to do is actually break the last 2 on the top section. So if we could do that here, it would be very nice. He's going slow again, which is being kind to me. And we actually got it very quickly. That's probably the fastest I've ever beaten the King El-longo. Or Eel-longo. And yeah, once he's defeated, he explodes, and our door should just appear. I don't know how the door appears, but this can go on for basically however long it takes you to defeat the Eel-longo. I don't believe there's any time limit on that boss fight, except like the air meter, but since the King El-longo shoots air right before it appears every time, you should never really run out of air. But with that cannon, we get up here to a question mark door, and going through it, we clear the stage, and I was only hit once by that stupid giant jelly frizz. And we have a question mark button, which the Kirbys are very fascinated by and press it without any concern. But basically, you have to hit that button in order for Stage 6 to actually open up. So, that's basically what you have to do to get Stage 6. You have to beat the King of Longo, take the bottom route, and hit the button. But with that, on to Stage 6. And you need 8 Kirbys to go in this one for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, because it's not a super difficult stage, if I remember correctly. And we have a new enemy. These are the Waddle Dees, which makes sense that they would appear on King Dedede's island. And they actually have a lot of different mechanics to them. The Waddle Dees can do a bunch of different stuff. They can climb on trees and throw whatever on the trees. They can also throw seeds from the trees like the bean bonds do. Or like the bean bonds shoot. They could also, when they're on the ground, carry bombs and throw bombs. And they are basically one of the easiest enemies in the game because they're not really that dangerous. They take the place of the bean bonds in DD Resort, our King DDD Resort. And they're, just like the bean bonds, have big Waddle Dees as well that can be fought and seen, and they just carry big bombs. But we have a new mechanic here, the keep up bubble. Basically, it's just these bubbles that have numbers in them, and you have to hit it that many times without letting it hit the ground. And hitting it that many times breaks the bubble and gives you whatever inside the bubble. In this case, a door. And the door we actually have to go through. And because we're in a resort, more water. And more Qins as well. I think we've only seen green Qins actually so far, which are the most dangerous of the Qins, so I guess it makes sense that they're having them run amok. But yet another new enemy right here. This is a rogue mole. An incognito mole, if you will. Most of them you do not have to fight. Basically, they go underground, and if you pause long enough, they will come out of the ground and throw those spiky balls at you. But if you just run past them, they are almost never a problem. And the one that you actually have to fight is this one right here. You just have to let it drop its spike ball, which it has a red one, so it will drop it straight down. And you have to defeat it above the metal block, so you can go down here and get a skeleton key that's down here. And again, just like every skeleton key that we have ever gotten, it just leads us to the Scully realm, where we have to throw our Kirbys and collect the Scullies. Or not collect the Scullies, but get the treasure chest that the red Scully has. And I actually want to get more than 4 on it, so it actually defeats it before more Scullies appear. I understand why it's almost always the last Scully to come down, but it would be nice sometimes if it was like the first, just to make these stages a little bit faster and a little bit less predictable. Because right now, they are the most predictable stages or things in these games. And also, here's your rainbow medal. And we are actually just going to run up on that rogue mole just so it doesn't throw its spike ball. And also, I know why that the skeleton key is technically the second medal, but it's the second medal because it's the hidden medal in that place, and it's the more likely one that you are to miss, so they make it easier for you to get the rainbow medal in that instance. We have some more. Actually, we are just going to sit here. We have another new enemy. This is a Taco Tuzu. And basically what you have to do is you have to get behind it, grab onto this ring, and pull it out of its head, and give it what is basically the most gruesome death possible by deflating it. And yeah, as long as you're behind it, these things are super easy to defeat. They are very non-threatening when you are behind them, but when you're in front of them, they periodically shoot 3 cannonballs, So it is something to keep in mind. And we just need to continue moving forward until we get over to, not this one, but I actually want to move faster. Great. This thing killed my Kirby, and I need all my Kirbys for this. I think I'm just going to let it shoot because it takes it a while in between shots. Or in between volleys of shots. So I'm just going to fly my Kirbys across. And these cubes are actually technically a new mechanic. And I say technically because it's basically the exact same mechanic that we used in the fight against Lady Ivy in the boss fight for the Sandy Canyon. And this Rogue Mole is going to throw that spiky ball, and I don't want to deal with that. But we do need to... Actually, I want to rotate it this way. Because I want to be on the back of this in order to take out this Taco Tuzu. Basically, this one is the only important cube, and you have to have 10 Kirbys, because it's a 10 block, as you saw. And there's actually 2 Taco Tuzus on this, and you have to defeat them in order to break these blocks and rotate this block to get to this golden door. Because within this golden door is actually a sort of puzzle, if you can call it that. You just have to swim over this way, and then down here, and break these blocks so that the Kirbys can keep going down. And there's actually air here, so there's not even much of a challenge in terms of like running out of air. The biggest challenge is those bi-rippers, and even then they're spaced far enough apart where they're not really a problem. You just want to make sure you grab that ring right at the end there, so you are able to pull this down, which once it's pulled all the way down, literally pulls the plug on this whole thing and lowers the water level. And then for some reason, without letting go of the ring, it goes back down, and it gives us our 3rd medal. And that is the only thing that's of importance in here, so we can just leave now. And actually, it shoots us out right here, which is right underneath where our warp door is for this level. And we actually do have hurt Kirby, so I want to use this magic ring. Because once we go through this door, there is technically, and I use this term as loosely as possible, technically a very loose mini-boss here. But we have another new mechanic. This is fishing. It's only in like 3 levels in this whole game. And what you have to do is you just wait for the bobber to go down, and then you can pull, or you play tug-of-war with the bobber, basically, and it pulls up whatever is hooked to it. In this case, a bunch of fruit, as well as a key that we need. And the reason I say it's a very loose mini-boss here is because of this thing. This thing is just a stickle. It's not really threatening, and it never really attacks you. It just swims under the level and sometimes jumps up, so you have to avoid it. But if you run over here, it'll jump up here and actually take our golden door that we need. And if you watch it, it'll just swim away. It goes straight to this bobber. And I actually just want to fly over this to make this go a little bit faster. This Waddle Dee is not really an issue, so we'll just run through it. And grab onto this fishing rod. And it's the exact same minigame. That's why I said it's not really a mini-boss. Because all you have to do is wait for the bobber to go down and just mash on the Kirby face in order to pull up this stickle and get your golden door. It's a very easy thing to deal with. And I believe that's the last time we have to deal with it. And we actually have a new enemy here. This is a golden Waddle Dee. It is very rare, I believe only in this level, and it's virtually indistinguishable from a regular Waddle Dee. Oh, great, thanks. You had to bounce high enough to kill my Kirby's. But it's virtually indistinguishable from regular Waddle Dees except for two things. One, it doesn't throw any bombs, and two, it will always run away from you. And if you defeat it, you actually get something in your extras, which is why you want to defeat it if you see it. It's just something rare that appears here, but I believe this is one of the only places it can spawn. But once we get that treasure chest and our 4th medal, we just need to hop in this cannon and fire our way this way. Which I believe fires us literally straight into the water. Yep. And basically here, you could just swim as fast as you want. You just want to make sure to avoid these squids because, yeah. And I actually want to let this jelly frizz electrocute itself first, so I can swim down and take it out without having to worry about it. Because we want to go over to this right section and hit this clam, because that clam has our last coin in it. And once we get the coin, we can just leave. Because there's nothing really else in there except for the jelly frizzes. And we are just going to swim down here. And actually, I want to hover around here for a little bit, just to see if we can get... I was going to say see if we can get a little bit of air, but I don't think it entirely matters. And this is technically a new enemy, but I'm going to wait to talk about it, because it's not really threatening at the moment. It's just going to pop out of these, like, geyser-looking areas and shoot torpedoes at us. And if you are fast enough, it will never hit you. Saying that, it literally almost hit me, but still, one of the least threatening obstacles as of right there. And I believe we just need to head down. Again, it appears right there, but if we head to this door, we have the actual mini-boss of this stage. This is the Steel Snapper. Basically another form of the Eel-ite, except this one is steel and actually has ways of hurting you besides just running into you. What you want to do is, you will see where it's about to appear, and you just want to avoid where it's about to appear. And sometimes when it appears, it will try to suck up. Why are my Kirby's not swimming like I want them to? Okay, it took 2 of my Kirby's, which is something it can do. You can avoid that if you're fast enough, but apparently I was not fast enough. But what you need to do is just grab onto the rounded sections of the Steel Snapper, and once you grab onto it, once enough Kirby's grab onto it for long enough, you can break the sections of the Steel Snapper. And actually, I want to try to get onto as many sections as I can, because if you can break multiple sections in a round, it makes this fight go a lot faster and makes the Steel Snapper a lot easier to handle. There are some times it will fly through and it'll fly through with the spikes, and you just need to avoid the sections that have spikes. And then sometimes it'll do that, where it flies through, or it will slowly go through with spike sections and have rounded sections that you can grab onto as well. And this time, it looks like it's doing the whole rounded thing again, so we'll see where the rounded section is. It's going to be the last one, I bet. Yeah, it's the same one it was last time, so we'll just break that. And basically, all of the empty sections in the Steel Snapper are going to be air pockets. So if you break those, you get a bunch of air and make it very hard to lose this fight due to running out of air. And actually, here's another way you can fight it, just by having the torpedo run into it that it shoots. Because if you have the torpedo run into a certain section, it will break apart those sections even if they have spikes. It's a little bit hard to do, but not impossible, and probably one of my favorite ways to deal with it. Just like that, if you hit it fast enough, it will literally run into its own torpedo, which is very funny in my opinion. But we only have one section left to go, and I really hope that it just leaves me the open section. Okay, good. It left me the open section. We can grab onto it. And that is the end of the Steel Snapper. And it'll actually do this whole, like, snaking thing. Which I think is a really cool animation for it to destroy itself. And once it explodes, we get an extra 3,000 points, but we also get the exit to the stage. And since Kirby's were lost in the bombing of the Waddle Dees, we get the brown star. But we also get our rainbow bridge for this level, or for this ring. So let's go ahead and break that open and make us a rainbow bridge. I also haven't mentioned it yet, but I actually really like this song that's played in the background. It's just so upbeat. But with that, we open the way to the next inner ring of DDD Resort. So I think we're going to call this episode here. So I hope that everyone enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Next time, we're getting on a boat. But until then, happy adventuring.